last time we did an update. It's been probably a day and a half. Things have not gone exactly according to plan. That's the way life goes sometimes. But we are now on day 5 of what we had hoped would be maybe a 3 or 4 day project. Part of it was because I like to mix the thin set outside to kind of keep the dust down, or at least outside, rather than doing it in the garage. But it rained most of the day Sunday. So we finally compromised and figured out a way to kind of mix it at the edge of the garage door, just outside the rain, but that still didn't work out very well. Second, we had a lot of trouble. The Cobalt score and cut tile cutter and the wet saw that we got from Lowe's are just not very good. They're really difficult to work with in the lineup. That slowed us down. It broke a couple of tiles. We had some mismeasurements. My fault, nobody else's. But we have at least gotten this far. We are, I would say, 80%, 90% done. We are all the way through here. And all we have left to do are essentially about a dozen tiles right in this entry area right here. Something else we also realized is that now we're in a very confined space in this entry hall. And I can do probably 2 more courses along here pretty straightforwardly with full tiles, or one that just needs one offcut that disappears under the door. Go ahead and show that door. We're going to disappear the tile underneath that door. So I can do a couple of rows without really any cuts at all, I think. But what we're also realizing is, as we work through these last 5 or 6 tiles here in this area, in order to make sure that the tile slides underneath the trim boards, I've got to have access to this area, but I won't have access to this area if the door's closed. But if I open it, then I can't get the tile lined up underneath the trim boards. One way or the other, our realization was this door's got to come down. So we're going to get a hammer and a little chisel or a screwdriver, pop up those nails, the pins that hold the hinges on, and put this door out and set it aside so we'll have access to work our way out of the garage and finish the tiles. So our objective for today: mix up another bag of thin set. Half a bag probably should be enough to finish it. Get that tile recut and get this last piece of tile down so we can get it dry and then move on to grouting. So that's where we're heading next. Well, folks, it took us longer than we expected, and we had a few obstacles and hiccups along the way. But this is the last tile, and it is, ironically enough, the last tile we have available. It fits perfectly, and you can see, just as a little observation, when we first started laying this out, I told you guys that this wall was not reliable. I want you to look at how unreliable this wall is. There's nothing we could do about it. We used our laser to set all these others. But when you get right down to here, you can see that this gap right here is probably 1/4 of an inch, and it goes nearly to an inch over here. Nothing you can do about it. That's just a building defect. Can't hide it. Can't make it go away. It is what it is. That's just the nature of life. But that is the last tile. Hallelujah. And praise the Lord. Because we had some challenges, that's for sure. And the biggest thing in all of this, in laying out all the tile, was little things. A mismeasurement here, a misalignment there, a broken tile here, and then some things that had absolutely nothing to do with the project at all, just life, sore backs, other priorities. Things came up
when you do it, the other side of DIY projects is that not everybody, myself included, has the luxury to just say, oh, the rest of the world gets to stop while I do my little DIY project. That's just not reality. So you make do with the best that you can, as you can. And I tell you what, folks, I am stinking delighted. I do another sponge, a clean sponge.
No, here.
But that's just a fact of life. Some things happen and you just deal with them. Well, for the next step for us will be to let this dry. Actually, it's just this entry hall area that we had to finish. Let it dry. And then in 12 to 24 hours, we will be grouting. And the next thing you know, we'll probably be, I'll show you the whole finished room, and then we'll talk about grouting. And we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, it is now Wednesday morning. We're getting ready to grout. One thing I did off camera was just do a light sponge wash down of all the tile. I took a little box knife and I scraped out any grout lines between the tiles that had stray concrete in it. Nothing fancy there. Then I just took a little vacuum and vacuumed out all the lines. So I've got as clean a surface as I can work with. Now we're going to mix up grout. Do not make the mistake that I made on a prior tile job years ago. This is Caracolor unsanded grout. Caracolor is one version of grout that gives you the longest working time. It's the most forgiving. It gives you about an hour or so in the pail before it hardens. There's another kind called Ultra Color that has all kinds of magic potions in it that make it work, that make it dry and harden real fast. And if you're working in a team or you're a super expert pro tiler, that's great. I'm not. This gives me the most flexibility, and it also works for my 1/8 inch tile grout joints. So the instructions for this guy call for between 48 and 56 ounces of water. I am taking water from my little dispenser that I took from the house on the cold side, because that's going to be colder than water that's been sitting in a hose outside that might be warmed up. So I want to give myself the most possible mixing or setting time in the pot while I'm grouting. I got my grout float inside, and then we'll mix this up. You stir it for 3 minutes, you let it sit for 5, stir it up for 1, and start grouting. So let's get going. I'm going to start with 51 ounces. That's 51 ounces of water into my official bucket. And I have my, I thought I had my
Box knife is right there. On top of the...
Oh, yeah,
rack.
my box. Make sure I didn't hear Boomer, our manager. And I am just going to pour this whole thing in here. All right, there's that. And now we're going to take ye handy dandy mixerizer on the low speed setting.
I don't have a timer.
That's okay, 3 minutes. It's 11:30. Okay, we did our 3-minute mix. We stalled for 5 minutes and let it slake, and then we mixed it again for a minute 15. And now we've got a grout that's about the consistency of pancake batter, and that's about what we want. So we're gonna go work fast. We got our grout float inside, so let's go get this done. Boomer. Oh, gosh, he's gonna be a problem. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're going to put some in here on the corners. We're going to get a good glop here, and we're going to work it diagonally about 45 degrees to try to force it into these joints. Now, one thing that'll be a little bit of a challenge in here is that we don't have an edge by the wall. We went underneath the baseboard, so I may have to manually touch that up as we go. But we're just gonna. Again, just cleaning it up as I go, pushing it along the way. Now, I will tell you right now, as I was cleaning up some of my lines, some of my margin, some of my grout lines aren't perfect. But you know what? That's just going to be the way it is. I'm not as worried about grout lines, especially on an area that's going to mostly be covered by a toilet and never be seen by humanity ever again.
Your scat.
It will be easier once we get out of this cramped space. I'll guarantee you that. The biggest part, one of the biggest hassles of this whole project has been working in this confined space here in this bathroom. I'll guarantee you that. So, hear that. Okay, now I'm going to clean this off a little bit. And I'm going to try to get some of this excess back here out. Well, there we were, right in the middle of grouting, and we heard beep, 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 and the battery in my phone died. And we obviously can't change batteries in the phone, didn't have any other backup. So we grouted, we came, we saw, we grouted, we conquered. And the grouting turned out great. I couldn't be more pleased. Like I said, I had a prior tile job that I did years ago that didn't turn out quite so well, so I was a little snake bit. I worked really fast to make sure this stuff didn't set up too quickly, and I am super pleased with how this turned out. The only thing that's left, I've already gone through the basic wash down with the sponge, and that's the first wash. The sponges that we have, we've rinsed them and used them so many times. They're basically washed up. So we got some fresh sponges. I'm going to get a fresh bucket of clean water, and I'm going to try to do the final wipe down, and that will be the end of the tiling. So we're going to get our official bucket and fill it with fresh water and our fresh sponges, And this is, you know, this is kind of the dirty side of a project. Our garage is a shambles right now. And I've already started trying to clean up. It's very hard to salvage these buckets. The best thing you can do, you got to allocate time for cleanup. I mean, there's no two ways around it. I've tried to salvage these buckets. We reused the thin set bucket a couple of times. We cleaned it out, used our grout float to get the stuff out when it was still somewhat malleable, hadn't totally cured. But even so, we were able to reuse it, I think, 3 times, because we used 3 packages, 3 rounds, 3 tubs of thin set. But these guys right here, we were able to knock out the dry chunks, and the buckets, those are buckets will be reusable for, you know, storing tools or something in our little shed in the back. This one came out pretty clean. Again, it's a good tool bucket, but this one came out nice and clean. It's a keeper, and that's what we're going to use to wash out. And one thing I wanted to mention, when you are washing out and cleaning out thin set out of these buckets, thin set or grout or whatever, don't pour them out in the street, okay? There was one, we thought we had gotten all the residue out of it, and we still poured it, and it left a little bit of a stain on the curb. And so what we're gonna do, just a little handy tip, I've taken this is an outdoor trash bucket I normally use for collecting trash, for collecting lawn clippings. I put one of my lawn bags in here, and I dumped one of the water buckets in there. So when I roll this thing up and fill it up, I can take that bag out, tie it off, put it in our regular dumpster, and it will go out with the solid trash, so it doesn't wash into the sewer system. The other thing I wanted to mention is that one thing you can do, you know, you can't perfectly measure the amount of thin set you will or won't use, or what will cause you to have to stop. I had a big chunk of thin set left over, had a big chunk of the grout left over. And what happened was I let it dry, and then it dried into this big chunk. And the thin set does not really adhere too well to these plastic buckets. So once it dried into a giant ball, I tipped it over, took a hammer, and just kind of tapped the tops and sides of it until I heard it go thunk and crash. And I dumped a big wad of thin set in the trash bucket. Did the same thing here. You can see where broken up thin set is in the trash. This is all part of the cleanup. You know, you don't really see this on other DIY videos, but it's an important thing. You got to clean up. It feels anticlimactic to a degree because you're tired. The project itself is essentially done, but this is the rest of the effort that it's the unglamorous part of any DIY project is the cleanup, and there's no two ways around it. Setting tile is a messy job. So we're going to go ahead and get our Harbor Freight bucket. We're going to fill it with nice clean water and our fresh supply of sponges, and we are going to do the final wipe down on the tile. And what I might try to do is see if I can rinse out any more out of this guy. Yeah, see here, some of that is breaking loose. This was the grout bucket. And what I'd like to do, ideally, is to have one bucket that I use to rinse off the thin, that already has mortar or stuff on it, and use it for the clean, use it for the dirty bucket to rinse out a dirty sponge. I keep moving the camera, sorry. And then have one clean bucket for rinsing a washed out sponge with fresh water. So we'll have a clean and a dirty bucket as the part of the sponge remediation process. So we're going to go ahead and fill these 2 buckets with water, and we will reconvene to start the wipe down process. Okay. So we'll just let that go. and grab a sponge here. And I'll just take this and put that in the clean water. I'm not sure if this is in shot, but hello, Boomer. I want to do a white, and then I'll hand it to you. And you can just put the clean sponges in the wet water, I guess, in the clean water.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
At this point, we don't have a lot of handheld video because I needed Catherine to help me keep these brushes or sponges rotated between the clean and dirty water. And we're going through, I don't want that glaze to harden as we're wiping it down. So with the help of our sidewalk supervisor, Boomer, we're going to go ahead and plow through some of this cleaning process. Won't show the whole thing, but you'll get the idea of what we have to go through to get it finished.
Beautiful. That wiped down really well. Okay, there's one dirty. Hey, I think we're done in here. I got a good wipe down in here. I don't think we have to go again. So that's a dirty. You can. Oh. Okay, that's a dirty. So we're just taking clean sponges. What? Okay, dirty. Okay. Oh,
Right there.
okay, I'm sure we didn't reposition the camera. We had a guest. But there's the wipe down. It's probably don't see a lot of difference on camera, but the wipe down looked good. We got a layer of it. We may wipe it down again at some point, but right now, that's the wipe down. And I think probably the next time you see this floor, it will be with everything reinstalled and put back and finished, and we'll wrap this project up.
Well, folks, here is the grand premiere of the finished product. The tiles are done. The grout is finished. The appliances have all been restored. The cleanup is done, and the project is finished. And I'll tell you what, we are delighted with how this turned out. It was hard on the knees, hard on the back. We did not get it done as quickly as we had originally planned. That happens, but we are so pleased with the result. It looks great, even if we did do it. I did seal the tile, and I did a trim edge seal with some grout-colored sealant. Didn't video either one of those things. I want to thank all of you. If you've stuck on this long, thank you for sticking around. And as I have always maintained, if a project is worth doing it all, it's worth doing it yourself. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye-bye.